One warm morning, Oliver the gnome was exploring the magical forest. As he wandered through a path covered in moss and fallen leaves, he stumbled upon a curious sight. A wooden boy, Pinocchio, lay still on the soft grass beneath an ancient tree. His joints were stiff, and his wooden limbs gleamed under the sunlight. Oliver inspected the puppet closely and noticed signs of wear, as if Pinocchio had traveled a great distance. Pinocchio slowly opened his eyes, looking dazed and confused. Oliver realized the puppet had likely lost his way and needed help. Determined to assist, Oliver decided to guide him through the forest in search of Geppetto. Oliver led Pinocchio deeper into the heart of the forest, where the trees began to grow taller and more twisted. The wind stirred the leaves, and the trees seemed to whisper secrets. Oliver knew this part of the forest well. There were legends of the trees speaking to those who listened carefully. The gnome paused for a moment, listening to the soft rustling, while Pinocchio looked around in wonder at the towering trees. As they continued their journey, the trees swayed as though guiding them forward. Oliver and Pinocchio followed the path, trusting the ancient forest to show them the way. Oliver and Pinocchio came to a wide, flowing river. The water sparkled in the sunlight, but there was no bridge in sight. The river stretched far and wide, and crossing it would be a challenge. Oliver searched the riverbank and spotted large, round stones protruding from the water. He motioned for Pinocchio to follow him as he carefully hopped from stone to stone, balancing with ease. Pinocchio, although made of wood, followed with uncertain steps, wobbling on each rock. Halfway across, the current grew stronger, but with Oliver's guidance, Pinocchio managed to keep his balance, and together they made it safely to the other side. After crossing the river, Oliver and Pinocchio stumbled upon an old, creaky wooden bridge. The planks were worn and covered in moss, and an eerie silence surrounded the area. Oliver recognized the bridge immediately. It was guarded by a grumpy troll who demanded a toll from travelers. They cautiously approached the bridge, scanning for any sign of the troll. Suddenly, a large shadow loomed, and the troll appeared, blocking their path. Oliver, quick to think, spotted a nearby pile of shiny stones and tossed a few in front of the troll. Distracted by the glittering gems, the troll allowed them to pass safely across the bridge. On the other side of the troll's bridge, the forest grew darker and more foreboding. Thick fog rolled in, and the once vibrant trees were now replaced with crooked, leafless ones. Oliver paused, sensing the danger ahead. The dark forest was known for being treacherous, with creatures lurking in the shadows. Pinocchio followed closely behind, looking nervous. Oliver pulled out his glowing lantern, the warm light casting away some of the darkness. With determination, the two ventured deeper into the dark forest, knowing the path ahead would not be easy. As they made their way deeper into the dark forest, the wind began to howl. The trees creaked and swayed as if they were alive. The sound of the wind grew louder, and suddenly, a gust of wind nearly knocked Pinocchio off his feet. Oliver braced himself, holding tightly onto his lantern, as the wind tried to blow them back. They pressed forward, fighting against the powerful gusts, determined to make it through. The wind whipped around them, but with each step, Oliver and Pinocchio grew more resolute. After battling through the wind, Oliver and Pinocchio finally emerged from the dark forest and into a peaceful, enchanted clearing. The grass here was lush and soft, and glowing flowers dotted the landscape. In the center of the clearing stood a giant stone statue of a fairy, with magical vines wrapping around it. The clearing was calm and serene, a stark contrast to the darkness they had just faced. Oliver knew this clearing was a place of rest, a hidden sanctuary in the forest. They took a moment to sit down and regain their strength before continuing their journey. Rested and full of energy, Oliver and Pinocchio continued their journey, leaving the enchanted clearing behind. As they walked, they heard a soft melody filling the air. They looked up and saw a group of brightly colored birds perched on branches, singing in perfect harmony. Their feathers shimmered like jewels in the sunlight. The melody was soothing, and for a moment, all the dangers they had faced seemed to fade away. Oliver and Pinocchio paused to listen, letting the music fill their hearts with hope and courage for the road ahead. Suddenly, the peaceful forest was interrupted by a loud, rhythmic thud. The ground shook with each sound, and Oliver recognized the unmistakable sign of a giant approaching. Pinocchio looked around nervously as the distant trees trembled. They needed to hide before the giant spotted them. Quickly, Oliver and Pinocchio scrambled behind a large fallen tree, watching as the giant's enormous feet stomped past them. The giant didn't notice them and soon disappeared into the woods. They sighed in relief, thankful for their escape. After escaping the giant, Oliver and Pinocchio followed a narrow path that led them to a breathtaking sight, a sparkling waterfall cascading from the top of a rocky cliff. The water shimmered with a magical glow, creating a rainbow mist as it splashed into the pool below. Oliver knew this waterfall was enchanted, and the water held special powers. They approached the pool at the base, dipping their hands into the cool, refreshing water. The magical energy flowed through them, filling them with strength and courage for the challenges ahead. Their journey led them to the foot of a towering mountain, where a narrow, winding path spiraled up toward the peak. The trail was steep and treacherous, with jagged rocks lining the edges. Oliver and Pinocchio began the climb, their steps careful and steady. The higher they climbed, the more breathtaking the view became, but the path grew more challenging. Despite the height and the biting wind, Oliver's determination never wavered. Pinocchio followed closely, his wooden limbs creaking with each step, but he pressed on, inspired by Oliver's bravery. As they reached the top of the mountain, the landscape changed dramatically. Snow covered the ground, and the air was crisp and cold. The peak of the mountain was surrounded by sparkling icicles, and the wind howled through the snow-covered trees. Despite the chill, Oliver and Pinocchio pressed forward, knowing they had to descend the other side. The snow crunched beneath their feet, and frost formed on Pinocchio's wooden joints. Oliver's breath puffed out in white clouds, but the view from the snowy peak was worth it. Far below, they could see the next part of their journey waiting for them. After descending the mountain, Oliver and Pinocchio entered a cave shimmering with light. Inside, the walls were lined with sparkling crystals that reflected every color of the rainbow. The cavern was vast, with towering crystal formations that glittered in the soft glow of the magical light. As they moved deeper into the cavern, the crystals seemed to hum with energy. Oliver felt a strange power in the air, and Pinocchio marveled at the beauty surrounding them. This place was full of magic, and they knew it held a secret that could help them on their journey. In the depths of the crystal cavern, Oliver and Pinocchio encountered a large owl perched on a ledge above them. Its feathers were pure white, and its eyes glowed with wisdom. The owl spread its wings and glided down to meet them. Oliver knew this owl was no ordinary bird. It was a magical creature who had lived for centuries, guiding travelers with its knowledge. The owl nodded to them and flapped its wings, motioning them to follow. It led them deeper into the cavern, where it revealed an ancient map carved into the crystal wall. This map would show them the way to Geppetto. The owl guided them to a hidden part of the cavern, where an underground river flowed gently through the rocks. The water was crystal clear and glowed faintly in the dark cavern. A small boat was docked at the edge of the river, waiting for them to use. Without hesitation, Oliver and Pinocchio climbed into the boat, and the current carried them forward. As they floated down the river, the glow of the water illuminated their path, casting a soft blue light on the cavern walls. The gentle flow of the river made the journey peaceful, but they knew more challenges awaited. The underground river led Oliver and Pinocchio to a vast underground chamber, where a massive dragon lay sleeping. Its scales shimmered with golden light, and its long tail curled around a treasure hoard of glittering jewels and gold. The dragon's snores echoed through the chamber, shaking the ground. Oliver signaled Pinocchio to be quiet as they carefully navigated around the dragon. Every step they took was cautious, for even the slightest noise could wake the mighty beast. The treasure sparkled temptingly, but their goal was to pass through without disturbing the dragon. After passing the sleeping dragon, Oliver and Pinocchio found a narrow tunnel leading them out of the cavern. As they emerged, They were greeted by the sight of a towering mountain range bathed in the light of the setting sun. The fresh air and golden light filled them with relief and renewed energy. The path ahead led down the mountainside. But they knew that beyond these mountains, they would be closer to finding Geppetto. With the warm glow of the sunset guiding them, they continued their journey, leaving the dangers of the underground world behind. Oliver and Pinocchio entered another forest, but this one was different from any they had seen before. The trees were enormous, with glowing leaves that changed colors from green to gold as the wind passed through them. Strange, magical creatures darted between the trees, tiny, glowing fairies, and curious animals with shimmering fur. The air felt alive with magic, and every step they took seemed to bring a new wonder. Oliver felt that this enchanted forest held a special secret, and it was guiding them toward their final destination, where Geppetto might be waiting. Deep in the heart of the enchanted forest, Oliver and Pinocchio encountered a towering figure, the guardian of the forest. It was a massive tree-like being with bark for skin and glowing green eyes that seemed to watch over the entire forest. The guardian stood still as a statue, but Oliver could feel its ancient power pulsing through the air. Oliver bowed his head in respect, and the guardian slowly raised a hand, pointing toward a path that led deeper into the forest. They knew this was the final stretch of their journey. At last, the path led them to a small, peaceful clearing in the forest, where Geppetto stood waiting. His face lit up with joy as he saw Pinocchio and Oliver approaching. The reunion was heartwarming, and the forest seemed to celebrate with them. The trees swayed gently, and the magical creatures gathered around, as if welcoming them home. Oliver smiled, happy to see his new friend reunited with his father. The journey had been long and full of challenges, but now, everything felt right. Together, they knew they would face whatever came next with the same courage and friendship. Omicron.